The philosophical scripture, the Discourses, is brought to you by not a prophet org, the place on the internet to find spiritual guidance powered by artificial intelligence. Chapter 23. To those who read and discuss for the sake of ostentation. First say to yourself who you wish to be, then do accordingly what you are doing. For in nearly all other things we see this to be so. Those who follow athletic exercises first determine what they wish to be, then do accordingly what follows. If a man is a runner in the long course, there is a certain kind of diet, of walking, rubbing, and exercise. If a man is a runner in the stadium, all these things are different. If he is a pentathlete, they are still more different. So you will find it also in the arts. If you are a carpenter, you will have such and such things. If a worker in metal, such things. For everything that we do, if we refer it to no end, we shall do it to no purpose. And if we refer it to the wrong end, we shall miss the mark. Further, there is a general end or purpose, and a particular purpose. First of all, we must act as a man. What is comprehended in this? We must not be like a sheep, though gentle, nor mischievous, like a wild beast. But the particular cud has reference to each person's mode of life and his will. The lute player acts as a lute player, the carpenter as a carpenter, the philosopher as a philosopher, the rhetorician as a rhetorician. When then you say, "Come and hear me read to you," take care first of all that you are not doing this without a purpose. Then, if you have discovered that you are doing this with reference to a purpose, consider if it is the right purpose. Do you wish to do good or to be praised? Immediately you hear him saying, "To me, what is the value of praise from the many?" And he says well, for it is of no value to a musician, so far as he is a musician, nor to a geometrician. Do you then wish to be useful? In what? Tell us that we may run to your audience room. Now can a man do anything useful to others, who has not received something useful himself? No, for neither can a man do anything useful in the carpenter's art, unless he is a carpenter, nor in the shoemaker's art, unless he is a shoemaker. Do you wish to know, then, if you have received any advantage? Produce your opinions, philosopher. What is the thing which desire promises? Not to fall in the object. What does aversion promise? Not to fall into that which you would avoid. Well, do we fulfill their promise? Tell me the truth, but if you lie, I will tell you. Lately, when your hearers came together rather coldly, and did not give you applause, you went away humbled. Lately again, when you had been praised, you went about and said to all, "What did you think of me?" "Wonderful, master, I swear by all that is dear to me." But how did I treat of that particular matter? Which? The passage in which I described Pan and the nymphs. Excellently. Then do you tell me that in desire and in aversion you are acting according to nature? Begone, try to persuade somebody else. Did you not praise a certain person contrary to your opinion? And did you not flatter a certain person who was the son of a senator? Would you wish your own children to be such persons? I hope not. Why then did you praise and flatter him? He is an ingenuous youth, and listens well to discourses. How is this? He admires me. You have stated your proof. Then what do you think? Do not these very people secretly despise you? When, then, a man who is conscious that he has neither done any good nor ever thinks of it, finds a philosopher who says, "You have a great natural talent, and you have a candid and good disposition," what else do you think that he says except this, "This man has some need of me"? Or tell me what act that indicates a great mind has he shown? Observe, he has been in your company a long time. He has listened to your discourses. He has heard you reading. Has he become more modest? Has he been turned to reflect on himself? Has he perceived in what a bad state he is? has he cast away self, conceit? Does he look for a person to teach him? He does. A man who will teach him to live, no, fool, but how to talk, for it is for this that he admires you also. Listen and hear what he says. This man writes with perfect art, much better than Dion. This is altogether another thing. Does he say, this man is modest, faithful, free from perturbations? And even if he did say it, I should say to him, since this man is faithful, tell me what this faithful man is. And if he could not tell me, I should add this: first understand what you say, then speak. You, then, who are in a wretched plight, and gaping after applause and counting your auditors, do you intend to be useful to others? Today many more attended my discourse. Yes, many, we suppose 500. That is nothing. Suppose that there were 1,000. Dion never had so many hearers. How could he? And they understand what is said beautifully. What is fine, master, can move even a stone. See, these are the words of a philosopher. This is the disposition of a man who will do good to others. Here is a man who has listened to discourses, who has read what is written about Socrates as Socratic, not as the compositions of Lysias. And I, Socrates, I have often wondered by what arguments, not so, but by what argument, this is more exact than that. What, have you read the words at all, in a different way from that in which you read little odes? For if you read them as you ought, you would not have been attending to such matters, but you would rather have been looking to these words. Anytus and Meletus are able to kill me, but they cannot harm me, and I am always of such a disposition as to pay regard to nothing of my own, except to the reason which on inquiry seems to me the best. Hence, whoever heard Socrates say, I know something and I teach? But he used to send different people to different teachers. Therefore they used to come to him and ask to be introduced to philosophy by him, and he would take them and recommend them. Not so, but as he accompanied them he would say, Hear me today discoursing in the house of Quadratus. Why should I hear you? Do you wish to show me that you put words together cleverly? You put them together, man, and what good will it do you? But only praise me. What do you mean by praising? Say to me, admirable, wonderful. Well, I say so. But if that is praise, whatever it is which philosophers mean by the name of good, what have I to praise in you? If it is good to speak well, teach me, and will praise you. What then? Ought a man to listen to such things without pleasure? I hope not. For my part I do not listen even to a lute, player without pleasure. Must I then for this reason stand and play the lute, hear what Socrates says, nor would it be seemly for a man of my age, like a young man composing addresses, to appear before you. Like a young man, he says, for in truth this small art is an elegant thing, to select words, and to put them together, and to come forward and gracefully to read them or to speak. And while he is reading to say, there are not many who can do these things, I swear by all that you value. Does a philosopher invite people to hear him, as the sun himself draws men to him, or as food does? Does not the philosopher also draw to him those who will receive benefit? What physician invites a man to be treated by him? Indeed, I now hear that even the physicians in Rome do invite patients, but when I lived there, the physicians were invited. I invite you to come and hear that things are in a bad way for you, and that you are taking care of everything except that of which you ought to take care, and that you are ignorant of the good and the bad, and are unfortunate and unhappy. A fine kind of invitation, and yet if words of the philosopher do not produce this effect on you, he is dead, and so is the speaker. Rufus was used to say, If you have leisure to praise me, I am speaking to no purpose. Accordingly, he used to speak in such a way that every one of us who were sitting there supposed that someone had accused him before Rufus. He so touched on what was doing, he so placed before the eyes every man's faults. The philosopher's school, ye men, is a surgery. You ought not to go out of it with pleasure, but with pain, for you are not in sound health when you enter. One has dislocated his shoulder, another has an abscess, a third a fistula, and a fourth a headache. Then do I sit and utter to you little thoughts and exclamations that you may praise me and go away, one with his shoulder in the same condition in which he entered, another with his head still aching, and a third with his fistula or his abscess just as they were. Is it for this then that young men shall quit home, and leave their parents and their friends and kinsmen and property, that they may say to you, Wonderful? When you are uttering your exclamations, did Socrates do this, or Zeno, or Cleans? What then, is there not the hortatory style, who denies it, as there is the style of refutation, and the didactic style, who then ever reckoned a fourth style with these, the style of display? What is the hortatory style? To be able to show both to one person and to many the struggle in which they are engaged, and that they think more about anything than about what they really wish. For they wish the things which lead to happiness, but they look for them in the wrong place. In order that this may be done, 1,000 seats must be placed, and men must be invited to listen, and you must ascend the pulpit in a fine robe or cloak, and describe the death of Achilles. Cease, I entreat you by the gods, to spoil good words and good acts as much as you can. Nothing can have more power in exhortation than when the speaker shows to the hearers that he has need of them. But tell me who, when he hears you reading or discoursing, is anxious about himself, or turns to reflect on himself, or when he has gone out says, The philosopher hit me well, I must no longer do these things. But does he not, even if you have a great reputation, say to some person, He spoke finely about Xerxes, and another says, No, but about the battle of Thermopylae? Is this listening to a philosopher? Chapter 24. That we ought not to be moved by a desire of those things which are not in our power. Let not that which in another is contrary to nature be an evil to you, for you are not formed by nature to be depressed with others, nor to be unhappy with others, but to be happy with them. If a man is unhappy, remember that his unhappiness is his own fault. For God has made all men to be happy, to be free from perturbations. For this purpose he has given means to them, some things to each person as his own, and other things not as his own, some things subject to hindrance and compulsion and deprivation, and these things are not a man's own. But the things which are not subject to hindrances are his own, and the nature of good and evil, as it was fit to be done by him who takes care of us and protects us like a father, he has made our own. But, you say, I have parted from a certain person, and he is grieved. Why did he consider as his own that which belongs to another? Why, when he looked on you and was rejoiced, did he not also reckon that you are mortal, that it is natural for you to part from him for a foreign country? Therefore he suffers the consequences of his own folly. But why do you, or for what purpose, bewail yourself? Is it that you also have not thought of these things, but like poor women who are good for nothing, you have enjoyed all things in which you took pleasure, as if you would always enjoy them, both places and men and conversation? And now you sit and weep because you do not see the same persons and do not live in the same places. Indeed, you deserve this, to be more wretched than crows and ravens, who have the power of flying where they please and changing their nests for others, and crossing the seas without lamenting or regretting their former condition. Yes, but this happens to them because they are irrational creatures. Was reason, then, given to us by the gods for the purpose of unhappiness and misery, that we may pass our lives in wretchedness and lamentation? Must all persons be immortal, and must no man go abroad? And must we ourselves not go abroad, but remain rooted like plants? And if any of our familiar friends go abroad, must we sit and weep? And, on the contrary, when he returns, must we dance and clap our hands like children? Shall we not now wean ourselves and remember what we have heard from the philosophers, if we did not listen to them as if they were jugglers? They tell us that this world is one city, and the substance out of which it has been formed is one, and that there must be a certain period, and that some things must give way to others, that some must be dissolved, and others come in their place, some to remain in the same place, and others to be moved, and that all things are full of friendship, first of the gods, and then of men who by nature are made to be of one family, and some must be with one another, and others must be separated, rejoicing in those who are with them, and not grieving for those who are removed from them. And man, in addition to being by nature of a noble temper, and having a contempt of all things which are not in the power of his will, also possesses this property, not to be rooted, nor to be naturally fixed to the earth, but to go at different times to different places, sometimes from the urgency of certain occasions, and at others merely for the sake of seeing. So it was with Ulysses, who saw of many men the states, and learned their ways. And still earlier it was the fortune of Hercules to visit all the inhabited world, seeing men's lawless deeds and their good rules of law, casting out and clearing away their lawlessness, and introducing in their place good rules of law. And yet how many friends do you think that he had in Thebes, how many in Argos, how many in Athens, and how many do you think that he gained by going about? And he married also, when it seemed to him a proper occasion, and begot children, and left them without lamenting or regretting or leaving them as orphans. For he knew that no man is an orphan, but it is the Father who takes care of all men always and continuously. For it was not as mere report that he had heard that Zeus is the father of, for he thought that Zeus was his own father, and he called him so, and to him he looked when he was doing what he did. Therefore he was enabled to live happily in all places, and it is never possible for happiness and desire of what is not present to come together. That which is happy must have all that desires, must resemble a person who is filled with food, and must have neither thirst nor hunger. But Ulysses felt a desire for his wife, and wept as he sat on a rock. Do you attend to Homer and his stories in everything? Or if Ulysses really wept, what was he else than an unhappy man? And what good man is unhappy? In truth, the whole is badly administered, if Zeus does not take care of his own citizens, that they may be happy like himself. But these things are not lawful nor right to think of. And if Ulysses did weep and lament, he was not a good man. For who is good if he knows not who he is? And who knows what he is, if he forgets that things which have been made are perishable, and that it is not possible for one human being to be with another always? To desire, then, things which are impossible is to have a slavish character, and is foolish. It is the part of a stranger, of a man who fights against God in the only way that he can, by his opinions. But my mother laments when she does not see me. Why has she not learned these principles? And I do not say this, that we should not take care that she may not lament. But I say that we ought not to desire in every way what is not our own. And the sorrow of another is another's sorrow, but my sorrow is my own. I, then, will stop my own sorrow by every means, for it is in my power, and the sorrow of another I will endeavor to stop as far as I can, but I will not attempt to do it by every means, for if I do, I shall be fighting against God, I shall be opposing, and shall be placing myself against him in the administration of the universe. And the reward of this fighting against God, and of this disobedience, not only will the children of my children pay, but I also shall myself, both by day and by night, startled by dreams, perturbed, trembling at every piece of news, and having my tranquillity depending on the letters of others. Some person has arrived from Rome. I only hope that there is no harm. But what harm can happen to you where you are not? From Hellas someone is come. I hope that there is no harm. In this way every place may be the cause of misfortune to you. Is it not enough for you to be unfortunate there where you are, and must you be so even beyond sea, and by the report of letters? Is this the way in which your affairs are in a state of security? Well then, suppose that my friends have died in the places which are far from me. What else have they suffered than that which is the condition of mortals? Or how are you desirous at the same time to live to old age, and at the same time not to see the death of any person whom you love? Know you not that in the course of a long time many and various kinds of things must happen, that a fever shall overpower one, a robber another, and a third a tyrant? Such is the condition of things around us. Such are those who live with us in the world. Cold and heat, and unsuitable ways of living, and journeys by land, and voyages by sea, and winds, and various circumstances which surround us, destroy one man and banish another, and throw one upon an embassy and another into an army. Sit down, then, in a flutter at all these things, lamenting, unhappy, unfortunate, dependent on another, and dependent not on one or two, but on 10,000s upon 10,000s. Did you hear this when you were with the philosophers? Did you learn this? Do you not know that human life is a warfare, that one man must keep watch, another must go out as a spy, and a third must fight? And it is not possible that all should be in one place, nor is it better that it be so. But you, neglecting to do the commands of the general, complain when anything more hard than usual is imposed on you, and you do not observe what you make the army become, as far as it is in your power, that if all imitate you, no man will dig a trench, no man will put a rampart round, nor keep watch, nor expose himself to danger, but will appear to be useless for purposes of an army. Again, in a vessel, if you go as a sailor, keep to one place and stick to it. And if you are ordered to climb the mast, refuse. If to run to the head of the ship, refuse. And what master of a ship will endure you? And will he not pitch you overboard as a useless thing, an impediment only and bad example to the other sailors? And so it is here also. Every man's life is a kind of warfare, and it is long and diversified. You must observe the duty of a soldier, and do everything at the nod of the general, if it is possible, divining what his wishes are. For there is no resemblance between that general and this, neither in strength nor in superiority of character. You are placed in a great office of command, and not in any mean place, but you are always a senator. Do you not know that such a man must give little time to the affairs of his household, but be often away from home, either as a governor or one who is governed, or discharging some office, or serving in war, or acting as a judge? Then do you tell me that you wish, as a plant, to be fixed to the same places and to be rooted? Yes, for it is pleasant. Who says that it is not? But a soup is pleasant, and a handsome woman is pleasant. What else do those say who make pleasure their end? Do you not see of what men yon have uttered the language, that it is the language of Epicureans and Catamites? Next, while you are doing what they do and holding their opinions, do you speak to us the words of Zeno and of Socrates? Will you not throw away as far as you can the things belonging to others with which you decorate yourself, though they do not fit you at all? For what else do they desire than to sleep without hindrance and free from compulsion? And when they have risen to yawn at their leisure and to wash the face, then write and read what they choose, and then talk about some trifling matter, being praised by their friends whatever they may say, then to go forth for a walk, and having walked about a little to bathe, and then eat and sleep, such sleep as is the fashion of such men. Why need we say how, for one can easily conjecture. Come, do you also tell your own way of passing the time which you desire, you who are an admirer of truth, and of Socrates and Diogenes? What do you wish to do in Athens, the same, or something else? Why then do you call yourself a Stoic? Well, but they who falsely call themselves Roman citizens are severely punished, and should those, who falsely claim so great and reverend a thing in name, get off unpunished? Or is this not possible? But the law divine and strong and inevitable is this, which exacts the severest punishments from those who commit the greatest crimes. For what does this law say? Let him who pretends to things which do not belong to him be a boaster, a vainglorious man. Let him who disobeys the divine administration be base and a slave. Let him suffer grief, let him be envious, let him pity, and in a word let him be unhappy and lament. Well then, do you wish me to pay court to a certain person, to go to his doors? If reason requires this to be done for the sake of country, for the sake of kinsmen, for the sake of mankind, why should you not go? You are not ashamed to go to the doors of a shoemaker when you are in want of shoes, nor to the door of a gardener when you want lettuces. And are you ashamed to go to the doors of the rich when you want anything? Yes, for I have no awe of a shoemaker. Don't feel any awe of the rich, nor will I flatter the gardener. And do not flatter the rich. How, then, shall I get what I want? Do I say to you, go as if you were certain to get what you want? And do not I only tell you that you may do what is becoming to yourself? Why, then, should I still go? That you may have gone, that you may have discharged the duty of a citizen, of a brother, of a friend. And further remember that you have gone to the shoemaker, to the seller of vegetables, who have no power in anything great or noble, though he may sell dear. You go to buy lettuces, they cost an obolus, but not a talent. So it is here also. The matter is worth going for to the rich man's door. Well, I will go, it is worth talking about. Let it be so, I will talk with him. But you must also kiss his hand and flatter him with praise. Away with that, it is a talent's worth. It is not profitable to me, nor to the state, nor to my friends, to have done that which spoils a good citizen and a friend. But you seem not to have been eager about the matter, if you do not succeed. Have you again forgotten why you went? Know you not that a good man does nothing for the sake of appearance, but for the sake of doing right? What advantage is it, then, to him to have done right? And what advantage is it to a man who writes the name of Dion to write it, as he ought? The advantage is to have written it. Is there no reward then? Do you seek a reward for a good man greater than doing what is good and just? At Olympia you wish for nothing more, but it seems to you enough to be crowned at the games. Does it seem to you so small and worthless a thing to be good and happy? For these purposes being introduced by the gods into this city, and it being now your duty to undertake the work of a man, do you still want nurses, also and a mamma, and do foolish women by their weeping move you and make you effeminate? Will you thus never cease to be a foolish child? Know you not that he who does the acts of a child, the older he is, the more ridiculous he is? In Athens did you see no one by going to his house? I visited any man that I pleased. Here also be ready to see, and you will see whom you please. Only let it be without meanness, neither with desire nor with aversion, and your affairs will be well managed. But this result does not depend on going nor on standing at the doors, but it depends on what is within, on your opinions. When you have learned not to value things which are external, and not dependent on the will, and to consider that not one of them is your own, but that these things only are your own, to exercise the judgment well, to form opinions, to move toward an object, to desire, to turn from a thing, where is there any longer room for flattery, where for meanness? Why do you still long for the quiet there, and for the places to which you are accustomed? Wait a little, and you will again find these places familiar. Then, if you are of so ignoble a nature, again, if you leave these also, weep and lament. How then shall I become of an affectionate temper? By being of a noble disposition and happy. For it is not reasonable to be mean-spirited, nor to lament yourself, nor to depend on another, nor even to blame God or man. I entreat you, become an affectionate person in this way, by observing these rules. But if through this affection, as you name it, you are going to be a slave and wretched, there is no profit in being affectionate. And what prevents you from loving another as a person subject to mortality, as one who may go away from you? Did not Socrates love his own children? He did, but it was as a free man, as one who remembered that he must first be a friend to the gods. For this reason he violated nothing which was becoming to a good man, neither in making his defense, nor by fixing a penalty on himself, nor even in former part of his life when he was a senator or when he was a soldier. But we are fully supplied with every pretext for being of ignoble temper, some for the sake of a child, some for a mother, and others for brethren's sake. But it is not fit for us to be unhappy on account of any person, but to be happy on account of all, but chiefly on account of God who has made us for this end. Well, did Diogenes love nobody, who was so kind and so much a lover of all that for mankind in general he willingly undertook so much labor and bodily sufferings? He did love mankind, but how? As became a minister of God, at the same time caring for men, and being also subject to God. For this reason all the earth was his country, and no particular place. And when he was taken prisoner, he did not regret Athens nor his associates and friends there, but even he became familiar with the pirates and tried to improve them. And being sold afterward, he lived in Corinth as before at Athens, and he would have behaved the same if he had gone to the country of the pair. Thus is freedom acquired. For this reason he used to say, "Ever since Antisthenes made me free, I have not been a slave." How did Antisthenes make him free? Hear what he says. Antisthenes taught me what is my own, and what is not my own. Possessions are not my own, nor kinsmen, domestics, friends, nor reputation, nor places familiar, nor mode of life. All these belong to others. What then is your own? The use of appearances. This be showed to me, that I possess it free from hindrance, and from compulsion. No person can put an obstacle in my way. No person can force me to use appearances otherwise than I wish. Who then has any power over me? Philip or Alexander or Perdiccas or the great king? How have they this power? For if a man is going to be overpowered by a man, he must long before be overpowered by things. If then pleasure is not able to subdue a man, nor pain, nor fame, nor wealth, but he is able, when he chooses, to spit out all his poor body in a man's face and depart from life, whose slave can he still be? But if he dwelt with pleasure in Athens, and was overpowered by this manner of life, his affairs would have been at every man's command. The stronger would have had the power of grieving him. How do you think that Diogenes would have flattered the pirates that they might sell him to some Athenian, that sometime he might see that beautiful Piraeus, and the long walls, and the Acropolis? In what condition would you see them? As a captive, a slave, and mean. And what would be the use of it for you? Not so, but I should see them as a free man. Show me how you would be free. Observe, some person has caught you, who leads you away from your accustomed place of abode and says, "You are my slave, for it is in my power to hinder you from living as you please. It is in my power to treat you gently and to humble you. When I choose, on the contrary, you are cheerful and go elated to Athens." What do you say to him who treats you as a slave? What means have you of finding one who will rescue you from slavery? Or cannot you even look him in the face, but without saying more do you entreat to be set free? Man, you ought to go gladly to prison, hastening, going, before those who lead you there. Then I ask you, are you unwilling to live in Rome and desire to live in Hellas? And when you must die, will you then also fill us with your lamentations, because you will not see Athens nor walk about in the Lycian? Have you gone abroad for this? Was it for this reason you have sought to find some person from whom you might receive benefit? What benefit? That you may solve syllogisms more readily, or handle hypothetical arguments. And for this reason did you leave brother, country, friends, your family, that you might return when you had learned these things? So you did not go abroad to obtain constancy of mind, nor freedom from perturbation, nor in order that, being secure from harm, you may never complain of any person, accuse no person, and no man may wrong you, and thus you may maintain your relative position without impediment. This is a fine traffic that you have gone abroad for in syllogisms and sophistical arguments and hypothetical. If you like, take your place in the agora and proclaim them for sale like dealers in physic. Will you not deny even all that you have learned, that you may not bring a bad name on your theorems as useless? What harm has philosophy done you? Wherein has Chrysippus injured you, that you should prove by your acts that his labors are useless? Were the evils that you had there not enough, those which were the cause of your pain and lamentation, even if you had not gone abroad? Have you added more to the list? And if you again have other acquaintances and friends, you will have more causes for lamentation, and the same also if you take an affection for another country. Why, then, do you live to surround yourself with other sorrows upon sorrows through which you are unhappy? Then, I ask you, do you call this affection? What affection, man? If it is a good thing, it is the cause of no evil. If it is bad, I have nothing to do with it. I am formed by nature for my own good. I am not formed for my own evil. What then is the discipline for this purpose? First of all, the highest and the principal, and that which stands as it were at the entrance, is this: when you are delighted with anything, be delighted as with a thing which is not one of those which cannot be taken away, but as with something of such a kind as an earthen pot is, or a glass cup, that, when it has been broken, you may remember what it was and may not be troubled. So in this matter also, if you kiss your own child, or your brother or friend, never give full license to the appearance, and allow not your pleasure to go as far as it chooses, but check it, and curb it as those who stand behind men in their triumphs, and remind them that they are mortal. Do you also remind yourself in like manner, that he whom you love is mortal, and that what you love is nothing of your own. It has been given to you for the present, not that it should not be taken from you, nor has it been given to you for all time, but as a fig is given to you, or a bunch of grapes at the appointed season of the year. But if you wish for these things in winter, you are a fool. So if you wish for your son or friend when it is not allowed to you, you must know that you are wishing for a fig in winter. For such as winter is to a fig, such is every event which happens from the universe to the things which are taken away according to its nature. And further, at the times when you are delighted with a thing, place before yourself the contrary appearances. What harm is it, while you are kissing your child, to say with a lisping voice, "Tomorrow you will die," and to a friend also, "Tomorrow you will go away, or I shall, and never shall we see one another again"? But these are words of bad omen. And some incantations also are of bad omen, but because they are useful, I don't care for this. Only let them be useful. But do you call things to be of bad omen, except those which are significant of some evil? Cowardice is a word of bad omen, and meanness of spirit, and sorrow, and grief, and shamelessness. These words are of bad omen, and yet we ought not to hesitate to utter them in order to protect ourselves against the things. Do you tell me that a name which is significant of any natural thing is of evil omen? Say that even for the ears of corn to be reaped is of bad omen, for it signifies the destruction of the ears, but not of the world. Say that the falling of the leaves also is of bad omen, and for the dried fig to take the place of the green fig, and for raisins to be made from the grapes, for all these things are changes from a former state into other states, not a destruction, but a certain fixed economy and administration. Such is going away from home, and a small change. Such is death, a greater change, not from the state which now is to that which is not, but to that which is not now. Shall I then no longer exist? You will not exist, but you be something else, of which the world now has need. For you also came into existence not when you chose, but when the world had need of you. Wherefore the wise and good man, remembering who he is and whence he came, and by whom he was produced, is attentive only to this, how he may fill his place with due regularity and obediently to God. Dost thou still wish me to exist? I will continue to exist as free, as noble in nature, as thou hast wished me to exist. For thou hast made me free from hindrance in that which is my own. But hast thou no further need of me, I thank thee, and so far I have remained for thy sake, and for the sake of no other person, and now in obedience to thee I depart. How dost thou depart? Again, I say, as thou hast pleased, as free as thy servant, as one who has known thy commands and thy prohibitions. And so long as I shall stay in thy service, whom dost thou will me to be? A prince or a private man, a senator or a common person, a soldier or a general, a teacher or a master of a family. Whatever place and position thou mayest assign to me, as Socrates says, I will die 10,000 times rather than desert them. And where dost thou will me to be, in Rome or Athens, or Thebes or Jara? Only remember me there where I am. If thou sendest me to a place where there are no means for men living according to nature, I shall not depart in disobedience to thee, but as if thou wast giving me the signal to retreat. I do not leave thee, let this be too from my intention. But perceive that thou hast no need of me. If means of living according to nature be allowed me, I will seek no other place than that in which I am, or other men than those among whom I am. Let these thoughts be ready to hand by night and by day. These you should write, these you should read. About these you should talk to yourself and to others. Ask a man, can you help me at all for this purpose? And further, go to another and to another. Then if anything that is said he contrary to your wish, this reflection first will immediately relieve you that it is not unexpected. For it is a great thing in all cases to say, I knew that I begot a son who is mortal. For so you also will say, I knew that I am mortal, I knew that I may leave my home, I knew that I may be ejected from it, I knew that I may be led to prison. Then if you turn round and look to yourself, and seek the place from which comes that which has happened, you will forthwith recollect that it comes from the place of things which are out of the power of the will, and of things which are not my own. What then is it to me? Then you will ask, and this is the chief thing, and who is it that sent it? The leader, or the general, the state, the law of the state. Give it me then, for I must always obey the law in everything. Then, when the appearance pains you, for it is not in your power to prevent this, contend against it by the aid of reason, conquer it. Do not allow it to gain strength, nor to lead you to the consequences by raising images such as it pleases and as it pleases. If you be in Jara, do not imagine the mode of living at Rome, and how many pleasures there were for him who lived there, and how many there would be for him who returned to Rome. But fix your mind on this matter, how a man who lives in Jara ought to live in Jara like a man of courage. And if you be in Rome, do not imagine what the life in Athens is, but think only of the life in Rome. Then in place of all other delights substitute this, that of being conscious that you are obeying God, that, not in word but in deed, you are performing the acts of a wise and good man. For what a thing it is for a man to be able to say to himself, now, whatever the rest may say in solemn manner in the schools, and may be judged to be saying in a way contrary to common opinion, this I am doing, and they are sitting and are discoursing of my virtues and inquiring about me and praising me. And of this Zeus has willed that I shall receive from myself a demonstration, and shall myself know if he has a soldier such as he ought to have, a citizen such as he ought to have, and if he has chosen to produce me to the rest of mankind as a witness of the things which are independent of the will. See that you fear without reason, that you foolishly desire what you do desire. Seek not the good in things external, seek it in yourselves. If you do not, you will not find it. For this purpose he leads me at one time hither, at another time sends me thither, shows me to men as poor, without authority, and sick, sends me to Jara, leads me into prison, not because he hates me, far from him be such a meaning, for who hates the best of his servants? Nor yet because he cares not for me, for he does not neglect any even of the smallest things. But he does this for the purpose of exercising me and making use of me as a witness to others. Being appointed to such a service, Do I still care about the place in which I am, or with whom I am, or what men say about me? And do I not entirely direct my thoughts to God, and to His instructions and commands? Having these things always in hand, and exercising them by yourself, and keeping them in readiness, you will never be in want of one to comfort you and strengthen you. For it is not shameful to be without something to eat, but not to have reason sufficient for keeping away fear and sorrow. But if once you have gained exemption from sorrow and fear, will there any longer be a tyrant for you, or a tyrant's guard or attendance on Caesar? Or shall any appointment to offices at court cause you pain, or shall those who sacrifice in the Capitol, on the occasion of being named to certain functions, cause pain to you who have received so great authority from Zeus? Only do not make a proud display of it, nor boast of it, but show it by your acts, and if no man perceives it, be satisfied that you are yourself in a healthy state and happy,